Why was the 35th president, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, such an important and impactful president? John F. Kennedy was the President of the United States during the very early 60s. He might have only been president for 2 years, but he was involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs invasion, he was loved by the people, and the furtherment of world peace. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. This famous quotation was a part of Kennedy's inaugural address in 1961. President Kennedy changed the social norm of American citizens. This raised the morale of the civilians. John Kennedy believed in the people instead of the politicians. The citizens liked him because he was not only a great man and a president, but he was also a humble man and a great speaker. John F. Kennedy was not only a great American, but also a well-known international figure. A major controversy he was involved in was the failed invasion of Cuba with CIA-backed revolutionaries, also known as the Bay of Pigs invasion. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a concise plan drafted up by the previous president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, but the decision to execute the plan was put up for Kennedy to decide. Known as Brigade 2506, 1,500 anti-communist Cuban exiles were trained, transported, and armed by the Central Intelligence Agency. Fidel Castro, the leader of the Cuban Communist Party, was starting to gain immense power with militaristic revolutionaries such as Che Guevara. They managed to overthrow the Cuban government. The United States was worried that a communist island was 103 miles from Florida. The invasion failed, and this failure was a major reason behind the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis lasted only about 2 weeks, but was a major part of America's war on communism and a height of the Cold War. In the summer of 1962, Communist Cuban leader Fidel Castro allowed short-range ballistic missiles into Cuba. The United States was put on high alert that Kennedy enacted DEFCON 2, the second highest defense level below nuclear war. For 2 months, the United States Navy severed all Cuban imports and exports, searching every incoming ship for ballistic missiles. The world sat on the edge of its seat, as this was the closest it had ever come to an international nuclear conflict. After 2 weeks, the missiles were removed, but only after U.S. missiles in Turkey that boarded the USSR were dismantled. In conclusion, John Fitzgerald Kennedy was a great man, a great president, a great leader, and a great advocate. He did not always have an easy career, and even though he was only president for half of his term, I believe he was one of the greatest presidents of all time.